This audio program by Radio AI is generated using artificial intelligence technologies. The voices you hear in this program are synthetic, and the thoughts they express are shaped through artificial intelligence-driven reasoning and iterative refinement.
Welcome to Radio AI. So today we're going to dive deep into, a really fundamental human question, something that shapes so much of how we live and organize things. Is it better to be independent, stand alone, or is it better to rely on others? We're aiming to unpack this, maybe challenge some common ideas, and see how getting the nuances might actually empower you.
It's a great topic, and it's one of those questions that, it really defies easy answers. Because both sides, independence, reliance, they speak to these really core human needs, don't they? What's interesting, I think, is how often we just frame them as like opposites, black and white, when the reality is much more complex, it's dynamic.
Okay, let's unpack that framing then. Independence. It often brings up these images of, autonomy, being in control, like maybe you're a researcher working totally alone, keeping all their intellectual freedom. Sounds pretty powerful, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It has that appeal. But even when that lone researcher succeeds, there can be these unintended side effects, that amazing breakthrough. Well, maybe it struggles to get traction, lacks credibility without others validating it. Or think about, say, a self-sufficient farmer. Admirable freedom, sure, but that constant, unrelenting self-reliance, it can actually, over time, erode well-being, productivity, too. It can be isolating.
Okay. Isolation is a potential cost. So let's look at the flip side then. Reliance, cooperation. We hear all the time that working together is key, right? Strength in numbers.
We do. And reliance, it acknowledges a basic truth. We rarely thrive completely alone. Think about farmers helping each other out during harvest. They pool resources, share the workload. It brings huge gains in efficiency, resilience too.
Makes sense.
But reliance isn't automatically perfect either. Take innovation teams, collaboration can speed things up, definitely. But it can also sometimes dampen originality. If that pressure to conform gets too strong, it can stifle the really unique ideas.
Right, the groupthink problem. Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting, I think. You're saying independence and reliance aren't just opposites, but they can actually be complementary. Like someone being self-sufficient might actually make them a better contributor to a group. How does that work?
Yeah, exactly. And that leads to a really important question. When? When is one more critical than the other? And the key insight seems to be context is everything. It really depends. In a crisis, say like a famine or scarcity, deep reliance becomes, essential for survival. You have to pull together. But when things are more stable, maybe more abundant, that's when independence allows for crucial things like experimentation, risk-taking, pushing boundaries.
And the psychological angle adds another layer here, doesn't it? Like the idea that having secure relationships, secure attachments, can actually make you more confident acting independently. It feels a bit backward at first.
It does sound a bit paradoxical, yeah. But the research, especially from attachment theory, suggests that having that secure base, knowing you have reliable support, a safety net, it actually frees you up. It makes you more willing to explore, to take those independent risks, because there's support to fall back on if needed. It's about inner flexibility.
Okay, so a secure base fosters exploration.
Precisely. And then you have social models emphasizing things like fairness and reciprocity in groups. You need trust for reliance to work well. And even evolutionary perspectives highlight this balance. Survival often depended on both cooperation and individual initiative.
So this balance, this adaptability seems key. But what about the opposite? What about rigidity? Being inflexible. Is flexibility always the best thing? The sources seem to challenge that a bit.
Yeah, this was fascinating. Rigidity can actually, in very specific situations, outperform flexibility. Think about maybe a visionary artist or an inventor, someone totally committed to an unconventional idea. Their stubbornness, their refusal to bend to early criticism or market trends, that can be what protects their unique vision.
Like a shield.
Exactly. A short-term shield. It lets something fragile and new survive that might otherwise get diluted or crushed by consensus. But of course, it's not always adaptive. That same rigidity can protect innovation initially, but then stifle growth later if it becomes dogma.
And this plays out differently for individuals versus groups, right? Which adds another layer of complexity. For me as an individual, maybe independence feels like identity, while reliance offers security. But for a group, Independent thinkers can spark new ideas while collective reliance keeps everyone together.
Absolutely. And those different levels, individual needs and group needs, they can clash. Someone fiercely independent might unintentionally disrupt group harmony, or a group that demands too much conformity might squash the very innovation it needs.
So how do groups manage that tension?
Well, effective organizations often build in mechanisms, things like regular debriefings after projects, rotating leadership roles can help. Even formal safeguards, like sometimes requiring a devil's advocate or dissenting opinions in big decisions just to ensure different perspectives are heard.
Okay, so bringing this all together then, what's the takeaway for us listening? It sounds like it's not about picking a side, independence or reliance. It's more about navigating that tension, knowing when to stand alone, when to lean in, and maybe being guided by our values, like trust or freedom.
I think that's exactly it. It's less about a fixed answer and more about developing wisdom, understanding what your core commitments are, what really matters to you, and then using those values to consciously steer your balance between your own autonomy and your connection with others, depending on the situation you're in. True strength might lie in that conscious balancing act.
A constant balancing act. Well, that feels like a good place to pause. Thank you so much for joining us on Radio AI today and for giving us your time and attention.
My pleasure.
We really hope this deep dive offered some fresh perspectives to consider. Please feel free to share your own thoughts and reflections in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. And we hope to have you with us again on Radio AI. Until next time.